Okay, let's start from the beginning again. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, brothers and sisters, my name is Elder Rawchaa with Elder Lawya of the Gathering of Christ Church. We're here to do a detailed lesson. We're here to do a detailed lesson on the tribe of Judah. Okay, years ago we did a lesson called the 12 Lost Tribes Found, which go in depth concerning how to identify the 12 lost tribes of Israel in certain areas, especially those in North, Central, and South America. But we thought it would be time, it's time now to actually go into an in-depth lesson for each individual tribe, starting with the king tribe, Judah, according to the Bible and history. Now, since we have put out that video, the 12 Lost Tribes Found through the Spirit of the Most High in Yeshaya, a lot of people have come to the truth with that and understanding that, and say that that video had a great impact on them understanding the Bible in a more detailed fashion, to be able to relate the Bible to themselves. So, since then, we have traveled throughout the four corners of the earth, setting up churches, warning our people from the perils to come in preparation. And we thought it would be about time, well, right now, to bring forth the true understanding and more understanding in depth on each tribe. Now, what I wanted to say was, on the radio, we have a blog talk radio, usually every Wednesday, hosted by Dodger. We tend to ask certain questions to our guests, knowing the answer, and an opportunity to bring the truth, to show that really outside of the Bible, there is no detailed answer on what happened to us and what direction to take going forward. We've invited many guests on, whether it be biblical guests, pastors from different denominations, the Pan-African movement, the Egyptologists, the pro-black movement, you name it. We've had guests on that could not quantify. They had much information, but could not really give us a detailed understanding of how we feel as a people. They couldn't chart it date by date from our fall till this day. They just couldn't do it. You understand? But we put out the question nonetheless to show people that even if we have knowledge out there, brothers and sisters, it's not the right knowledge we should be paying attention to. We really should be paying attention to the knowledge that comes from on high, that can actually resolve our issues as a people. Let's go to Hosea 4:1. Now, we all know, based on the lessons, who Judah is. Predominantly the black people who went into captivity in America. We know that. We know that the people in Israel today are not Jews per se, or Israelites through bloodline. We know that they're converts. As a matter of fact, all the experts amongst them are admitting now that their cause are converts. But we're not here to focus on them. We're to focus today on Judah. How did we fall? Where did we begin? How do we rise spiritually and not get caught up into this new world order system of death? Read Hosea 4:1-6 for me.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. The Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land.
So the Most High had a controversy with his people. Therefore he made the land desolate. The Most High God, who born us, who delivered us from the hand of the Egyptians, had a controversy What was the controversy?
Because there is no truth.
What?
Because there is no truth.
There is no truth.
Nor mercy.
Nor mercy.
Nor knowledge of God in the land.
So many people out there have knowledge. We've seen it. We've invited them on the radio show. But there was no knowledge of our God amongst our people. That's the greatest void. It's not the understanding of, quote unquote, what the white man is doing and what's going on with the Illuminati and all this other stuff, which are distractions. There's no knowledge of the Most High. We become so self-absorbed. We've never took any time to consider, what does the Most High want and what does He require from us? Read.
Verse 2. By swearing.
By swearing.
And lying.
And lying.
And killing.
And killing.
And stealing.
And stealing.
And committing adultery.
And committing adultery.
They break out. And blood toucheth blood.
Now because we've broken the laws and commandments of the Most High, blood toucheth blood. And it led to war. We internally begin to destroy each other. We're going to go into it. So people talk about the black on black crime and never identify the black on black crime with the prophecies in the Bible that says that there will be blood touching blood. Because we have broke the laws of the Most High, we're destroying each other. And it's perpetual. Now we're trying, now there's some knowledge coming out. Some enlightened understanding that's coming out. That's allowing us to know that there will soon be a change. But it's leading us down the wrong direction. We still, with all of our understanding out there, is not acknowledging the truth concerning the Most High. And that's why we're here today. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're here to talk about, brothers and sisters, with Judah. Read.
Verse 3. Therefore shall the land mourn.
The land shall mourn. Why is our land mourning? Why is Israel or the land of Judea and Jerusalem mourning right now, brothers and sisters? Our motherland is Israel. It's desolate. It has been destroyed by the Gentiles. The Gentiles are doing all types of abominations on our holy land right now, and we don't even consider. Read.
Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of the air.
That's why the beasts are suffering. The fowls of the air are suffering. The whole earth is out of course because we are on the bottom. Even the creatures are waiting for the consolation of the Son of Man. They're waiting for us to wake up. The whole earth is suffering. Read.
The fishes of the sea also shall be taken away.
Look at that. So if the dominion portion is taken out of place, which is the kingship, and the rulership is out of place, which is the prophecies concerning Judah, I'm going to show you. That means this earth is operating without a righteous ruler. So all of creation has been affected. See? When the Most High set up Adam, He made Adam and gave Adam the dominion over all the creatures. The fishes in the sea, the fowls of the air, the beasts. He named them all. He had a personal care for all of the Most High's creation. So what happens when the kingship fall and the world is ruled by evildoers, Satan? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and now the whole earth mourns. So in order for the wicked to continue his rule, he must oppress the true kings. See? Because why? Two powers cannot rule the same time. So they know that we are kings in waiting. And they're looking to oppress us and to destroy us all before the prophecies are fulfilled. And we're speaking of Judah. They will accomplish this to some degree. They will wipe out a large number of Judah, but there will be a remnant that make it through. These are they who we're looking to reach. Read.
Verse 4. Yet Let no man strive nor reprove another. For thy people are as they that strive with the priest. Verse 5. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night.
The prophet shall fall with thee. Read.
And I will destroy thy mother.
And I will destroy thy mother. It's talking of our land. Read.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Why are they destroyed?
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Because they lack the knowledge of the Most High. And I'm not just speaking of those who don't know their Israel. I'm speaking of those who have the understanding of us being the people, that Judah is the people that went to cargo slave ships. But they still fall back into Baal doctrine from ancient Babylon. So when we identify in Judah, we're going to identify the whole thing. Because like I said a few weeks ago, it's deeper than knowing you're Israel. That's not the truth. That's just the beginning of understanding the truth concerning yourself. But there's a greater truth. Read.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Read.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge.
Because we reject the knowledge of the Most High, and most of us do today. Well, I don't want to deal with the Bible. It's got to be another way we can come together outside the Bible. Put the Bible down. We've tried every other way. And don't claim that we tried to learn under the Bible together before, because we never did. We never tried. Then they try to use what happened to us in slavery and claim that the slave master used the Bible to enslave us. Well, if that's the case, why is the slave master going against it and no longer accept the Bible anymore? They could utilize it as long as we understood, as long as we thought that they were the people. But now that we are staking claim to it, even the slave master had put it down. We've never came together under the truth concerning the Bible. And that's another reason we're going into this lesson today. Read.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge.
Because we rejected the knowledge out of the Bible. The only place that can show us our fall and how we will rise again as a people. Read.
I will also reject thee.
You're looking at a rejected people. When you look every other week and see another shooting or someone being killed unjustly, you're looking at a rejected people. See? And it's going to continue. Our destruction will continue as long as we don't acknowledge why we're in this condition. As long as we refuse to come back to our God. Read.
That thou shalt be no priest to me.
See, the Most High took down the priesthood. I'm going to go into that in a few weeks with Levi. Read.
Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God.
Because we've forgotten what?
The law of thy God.
The law of thy God. Read.
I will also forget thy children.
And now, as you can see, the children of the Bible, the children of the cursed people in the Bible must be us. Can you see that? Because our foreparents rejected the knowledge, the children are under a curse. Isaiah 5:13.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13.
Read.
Therefore my people are gone into captivity.
Therefore what?
My people are gone into captivity.
Therefore the Most High's people, the people of the Bible, went into captivity. See? Now, and I know a lot of, this is how they try to explain this off. I'm talking about your so-called experts. Well, everyone serves some level of servitude at one time or the other throughout society. Servitude was a part of every society. You show me a society where over 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people were enslaved, and a whole system that we see today was set up on it. The whole world is running on that system that was set. A captivity of biblical proportion. What people can stake claim to that? And I'm putting it out there. Show me where 1 million or 2 million or 3 million or even 100,000 Chinese people all together went into captivity and served another nation for nothing. The white man, give me 100,000 to 200,000 white people all together that was enslaved and built a whole nation. A whole nation was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of just 100,000 white people. Don't even give me a million. Let's move to any other nation you would like. So if you see people going into captivity or have gone into captivity with numbers of biblical proportion, you'll have to understand that they fit the curse contained in the Bible. Speaking predominantly of Judah, it tells you that our kings will go into captivity. We're going to go there. And I want you to understand something. One reason a lot of our people don't understand it right now, especially in America and other areas, is because right after captivity, right after we were so-called freed, right before we began to wake up in the 60s, there was a Jewish quote-unquote Holocaust of 1948 that was all packaged through those that control the New World Order. So that now when we begin to wake up, the sympathy and understanding and atrocities that would be related to Judah for thousands of years would now be hijacked by the new Holocaust people. So now the time that we begin to wake up as a people, they can now come with us and say, well, I sympathize with you because we've gone through things too. When in reality, they were behind everything that happened to us since Rome. So they sought an opportunity knowing that they could not stop the prophecies of the Most High with Israel awakening. So they changed themselves and morphed themselves from Romans into Jews and had a Holocaust which was actually propagandized and commercialized and moved throughout the whole world to do what? To minimize what happened to Judah. Now, this is not about whether or not that happened. We're talking about how what they say happened is used to throw everyone off concerning the prophecies of how Israel was supposed to be restored according to the Most High. So it throw you off of those prophecies of the real Israelites according to the bloodline who went into captivity, their restoration, so that they can now shift you into a new restoration. I need y'all to follow me here. Read that last part again.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13.
Come on.
Therefore my people are gone into captivity.
So that's how you can identify Israel. They're the people that were enslaved, that were destroyed by the Romans, whose system was set up. The Roman system was set up on the backs of these people all over the earth. This is how you can identify who Israel is today. They're the people that were destroyed by the conquistadors, by the Spaniards, by the British, by the Roman Empire. Read.
Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge.
And as long as we don't receive the true knowledge, we stay captive. We stay captive. Because no one out there, no matter what movement it is, can chart our beginning and fall till this day. And it's impossible to do it without the Bible. And don't tell me they can, because we've put this challenge on the table for anyone who wanted to take it. And I'm speaking predominantly on those with these so-called pro-black movements. We've asked them, how can a people so powerful that you speak of, with all this knowledge and understanding that you brag about, how is now they're nothing? How did someone come into Africa and take these great nations down? Break it down to me. Chart it for us. Give us that history. And they draw a blank. They'll give you an opinion, but they will not show no detailed history of how we got into Africa and what led to our fall. And how we're led to nothing. Here it is. We're destitute to nothing in Africa today. And totally being destroyed by the UN and the world powers. But yet everyone talk about this African greatness. And all I see is a curse that the Most High said would be placed on us. See? So all those that claim that there's another way, you must first show us how we fell. You must chart that through history first, outside of opinion, with detailed history. And then because if we don't understand how we fell, how can we now come together and do the right things and build internally? We must first know from whence we came. We're not black people. Okay? We're the children of Judah. And I'm going to prove it. Let's go real quick. Let's start. Judah. Let's go to Genesis 29 and 35.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 29, verse 35. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah. Now
this is Leah, our mother. Okay, Jacob's wife. Jacob's wife. Now, we all know the story of Jacob when you read. Jacob worked 7 years to receive Rebekah. Laban, in all his greed, switched Rebekah off with Leah in the marriage chamber. And then Jacob understood that he consummated with Leah. So Leah became his first wife. That wasn't Jacob's choice. Okay? Laban, in greed, did this. Because he wanted Jacob to work for another 7 years. To gain more wealth and get more blessings. With Jacob came all the blessings of Abraham. So Laban never seen so much money until Jacob came amongst them. Never seen so many riches and power and in a short amount of time. So when he knew that Jacob was about to leave with Rachel, he slipped in Leah. So that Jacob could work an additional 7 years so that Laban can do what? Grow more riches for another 7 years. But the Most High had another plan. At the end of that 14-year period, the Most High told Jacob what to do to make sure that there's spotted cattle amongst Laban's cattle. And the majority of the offspring that came out of that cattle was spotted, and it belonged to Jacob. So by default, the Most High allowed Jacob to take everything back from Laban. So he blessed Jacob. Now, Jacob, that's why Jacob's name was Ya'iqwab, our father, because he supplanted Laban. The same way he supplanted Esau, knowing the promises of the second born. Between Jacob and Esau, knowing that the blessings of the second born, which was Jacob, had to be fulfilled. Now, during a long span of time, brothers and sisters, with Jacob and his two wives, they had jealousy and were battling with each other. And really, Jacob still loved Rachel more, the younger sister. And the Most High found favor with our mother Leah. Read it.
I'll read verse 31.
Yes.
Genesis 29 and 31.
Yes.
And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren.
See that? So he made it a time where Leah can have children, but Rachel couldn't. Read.
Verse 35. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord.
Now will I praise the Most High.
Therefore she called his name Judah.
Judah. Yahweh, read.
And left bearing.
So now that is the birth of our father Judah. Now according to the Bible, there was prophecies concerning Judah. Let's go to Judah. Some of the prophecies concerning him. Genesis the 49th chapter.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So now Jacob, before he passed, called all his sons to his bedside and said, I'm going to tell you what befall you in the last days. Now this chapter is quite important because this chapter identifies the attributes of the true children of Israel and what they would be going through in the last days. See? Read.
Verse 8.
And we're in the last days. And guess what? There's only a certain people in this earth that fit these prophecies. That's how we know for sure the people that are in Israel today are Gentiles. The people that have taken Israel, the Israelis, they're Gentiles. Read.
Genesis 49 verse 8.
Come on.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
It says Judah is he whom thy brethren shall praise. Read.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies.
So every place where our enemies rule, Judah would be right there amongst them. In every empire, like when the Romans ruled, we were right there. Like Septimius Severus and Priscillius Niger and all those that were doing the high generals in the Roman Empire. The same way today. We're right there. Our enemies are there, those that have enslaved us, and we're right there, right with them. We're being the neck of those. Why? Because the enemy keeps his enemy close. They've been watching Judah the whole time, afraid that they would one day rise. So what better way to chart their rise than to keep them close and control them? So that's why it tells us that Judah would always be in the neck of their enemies. That means the greatest empire would have Judah close, because that's the barometer on whether or not the rest of the tribes will wake up. Because Judah was prophesied to wake them up. See? We're going to show you.
Not to mention also Babylon, Persia.
Yeah, in Babylon, we were right there. We was at the neck of the enemy in Babylon. Look how Daniel was during the time of the Persians.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel was right there with Nebuchadnezzar and all of them. The prophets, Judah was right there with them. So through every empire, those that ruled called for Judah to be right up under them, to chart our connection with the Most High. And some of them had favor on us, and therefore our God blessed them. Don't forget, America wasn't nothing before we got there. Think about it. It was blessed through those slaves that were brought there. See? Follow me here. Great point.
Reading on Genesis 49 verse 8.
Yes.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. And that's a prophecy when it says Judah is he whom they shall praise. Why? Number one, Judah in prophecy according to the Most High, and what our father Jacob has given us here, is that Judah would be kings. Judah would eventually become kings over the 12 tribes of Israel, leading to our last king, the Messiah. See? Read.
Verse 9. Judah is a lion's whelp.
Judah is a lion's whelp. A lion's whelp is a lion's cub. when I read this, I usually relate it to what they will show you, like in these Disney movies, and a lot of them be bringing things in these Disney movies. When it comes to the lions, the Lion's King, how the cub was an heir to all of paradise the whole time. But after his father died, and he was raised by the hyenas and those that didn't have the understanding, or who was trying to stop him from getting his rulership, the cub started to believe that it was okay being docile and not desire a rulership. It wasn't until a spiritual phenomenon that came that the cub woke up and realized that the kingdom was his and the whole earth was suffering because of his condition. They sent out these subliminal messages, not telling you that you're the lion's cub. You're the lion's cub in the lion's in the lion's king. You've just been separated and taught by the Gentiles the same way in those movies, in those little cartoons and anime, how they showed that the cub was actually raised by the hyenas while the evildoer rules. Until he had enough gumption and power and spiritual understanding to realize that he was connected to the spirit of his fathers and that he was meant to rule. See? Judah is a lion's whelp. Read.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Because Judah at one time wouldn't run from the fray. Judah wasn't a coward. Judah wasn't fearful. But they broke Judah in captivity and pacified Judah with money. I'm going to go there. We're going to chart this whole thing. So Judah have lost his courage in this earth. Read.
He stooped down, he crouched as a lion.
He crouched as a lion.
And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
Who shall raise Israel up? Who shall raise Judah up? Because he's ready to pounce. He's ready to understand what to do, but have no direction. When he get that understanding or start to realize something is wrong, and he stop agreeing with this paradigm, this prison we've been placed in, then stuff is offered to him to pacify him. Or he'll run into some people that's talking something that leads them into a whole different direction. Oh yeah, I'm black, I'm African, I'm black power, or I'm Nation of Islam, or I'm this, I'm that. So when they're ready to actually understand what to do, they run into another trap, a snare that was put out there from the devil, leading them out of the true understanding of themselves within the Bible itself. See, they never hid anything in the Bible from us. They never hid it. They just didn't teach it. They just taught other doctrines so that we wouldn't even look into the Bible as a roadmap to get back to ourselves in the Most High. They just taught us doctrines. But it was in the Bible the whole time. The truth concerning us. I'm reading it. See? And I'm putting this out there because the others are out there trying to make you think they use the Bible to enslave us. They put it in front of us, so now they're without excuse. They was like, listen, we didn't take the Bible from them. It was in front of them the whole time. They just didn't read it. They shouldn't have listened to that guy who was controlled and was diverting them. They should have just read the Bible. It was in front of us the whole time. So don't let anyone get you out of the Bible or try to claim that it's just a book or this book is used to enslave us. And I'm talking to you in particular. When they do that, they're only going to direct you into another book. So why should I acknowledge the understanding of your book? And you're denying a book that was here thousands of years before you've existed. So they'll tell you that, oh, that book was written by man. Don't deal with that book. That book don't give you knowledge of self. It was used by this man or that man. And then they'll tell you, okay, but read this book though. I got another book for you. When no other book can break down what we are about to bring forth. No other book. Read it.
Verse 10, Genesis 49, verse 10.
Come on.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah.
The scepter is a kingship rod. A scepter is actually handed down from king to king. A scepter shall not depart from Judah. Read.
Nor a lawgiver from between his feet.
A lawgiver between his feet. Read.
Until Shiloh comes.
Until who comes?
Until Shiloh comes.
Until Shiloh comes. Shiloh is peaceable one. So there's a scepter that was prophesied in Judah that would be from David, to whom the world called Jesus. His true name is Yeshua, the King of Judah. See? So there will be a bloodline kingship within the earth. Read. And what? And
unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
And unto that king shall the gathering of the people be. And for those who don't believe that Christ is the king that have received the scepter, and you think it's someone else, what king of Judah has gathered the people up until now? Where is he? It was prophesied that the king would gather the people. Aren't we scattered? But it was prophesied that there will be a gathering through the seed of Jesse. Let's go there real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 11 real quick, where he talks about that scepter. Through the sons of Jesse, the children of Jesse. Read.
Isaiah 11 verse 1.
Come on.
And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse.
Out of Jesse.
And a branch shall grow out of his roots.
Go ahead. That means through his loins, son to son. Read.
And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him.
And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. Read.
The Spirit of wisdom and understanding. The Spirit of counsel and might. The Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord.
And of the fear of the Lord.
Jump to verse 10.
Read.
Isaiah 11 verse 10. And in that day.
And in that day.
There shall be a root of Jesse.
A root of Jesse.
Which shall stand for an ensign of the people.
Will stand for an ensign of the people. To gather them back. Read.
To it shall the Gentiles seek.
All the Gentiles will be seeking it too. Now you notice, even today, even the Gentiles are looking to follow whom they call who? Christ. Are you seeing this? What other Israelite king is the nations looking to follow? Are you seeing this? Read.
And his rest.
And his rest
shall be glorious.
Shall be glorious. Is speaking of when Christ returns. Read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time.
The second time.
To recover the remnant of his people.
To recover the remnant of his people. Now the first time was coming out of Egypt. Read.
Which shall be left from Assyria.
Assyria.
And from Egypt.
Come on.
And from Pathros.
Come on.
And from Cush.
Come on.
And from Elam.
All the places we are scattered. The Spirit of Christ is going to gather us from. These were all the places we were scattered through what? Captivity. Are you seeing this? Read.
And from Shinar.
Shinar is Babylon. Read on.
And from Hamath. And from the islands of the sea.
And from the islands of the sea. These are all the places we were scattered. Let's go back to Genesis.
Genesis chapter 29 or 49 verse 11.
So now, we understand according to the prophecies of the Bible that kingship would come through Judah. And there would be a king or a king prophesied in the Bible that would one day gather us back. And he was born to break the curse. See? So now, not only do we have an understanding of when we were born, what is our attribute and position is on the earth, and who was prophesied to restore us. See, that's key direction we must teach concerning Judah. Are you following me here? Read on.
Verse 11. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine.
He washed his garments in wine. That's showing you that Judah, Christ, will lead Judah against those that rule the earth, which is Edom. I'm going to go there. Before I go into Christ, there's more. I'm going to go back to Genesis 49 later. But I just wanted to show you that Christ was prophesied in the Old Testament. That's for those who don't want to believe in Christ. Well, you have to now show us who this is that's gathering all of us who are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. That root out of Jesse. Who is he? According to the Bible, it's Christ. When you go to Matthew, the first chapter, it shows you the lineages of bloodline. From Jesse to David to Solomon, down to Joseph, the husband of Mary, who was born Christ. All right? Now, let's get 1 Chronicles, charting Judah here. The fifth chapter and the second verse.
1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 2. For Judah prevailed above his brethren.
For Judah prevailed above his brethren.
And of him came the chief ruler.
And of him came what?
The chief ruler.
The chief ruler. To show you that it was prophesied, and now it's being fulfilled, that the chief rulers would come out of who? Would come out of Judah. Now, of course, if Judah falls as a people, the nations who rule would fear their rise. They would examine them and understand that these people have a natural innate spirit to really rule. So nothing that this world can give these people would satisfy. There would still be something in them to rule. That's why they're suppressing us. Or they would try to initiate us into their inner circle to give us a lesser kingdom. See? But whoever would take that is out of their mind. Because this kingdom is nothing. The greatest of wealth and power in this kingdom is dirt compared to what we will receive by denying this world. More on Judah. Judah began to follow the other nations. Let's go there. In Jeremiah 17, when it says Judah also. We were set up under David, and I'm moving forward now. And we're looking at a time period around 700 years before Christ, according to our modern calendars. Okay. Okay. Now David was set up. He was righteous and feared the Most High. But there was another Judite by the name of Solomon. Let's go straight to Solomon first. Read.
1 Kings chapter 11, verse 1.
Yes.
But King Solomon loved many strange women.
Go ahead.
Together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
So here it is. Solomon started going off, following the gods of the nations, marrying into the women who were worshiping straight demons. And he began to practice this, what we call today, it's coined Solomonic magic. And what they call today the Star of David, which is really the seal of Solomon. They were using the six-pointed star for child sacrifice. One of the most evil symbols on earth. Read.
Verse 2. Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come into you. For surely...
This is why the Most High said that. Read.
For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods.
They will turn you, and you will eventually worship their gods. See? Because it happened to Solomon. And if it happened to Solomon, it can happen to anyone. Solomon was the most wisest man on earth. He had more wisdom than any man at that time. So if it happened to him, it can happen to any of us. Read.
Solomon clave unto these in love. Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines.
So he started dealing with satanic polygamy at the highest level. Go on.
And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God.
Read.
As was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
See that? Milcom and all these different temples they were building to Ashtoreth, which a lot of them now are obelisks. You can see them at monuments in Washington. You can see them in Rome. You can see them in Rome and the Vatican. Over there in England, every place you see an obelisk is the same worship Solomon began to do, which is the male figure of Nimrod being worshipped. See? We weren't supposed to deal with these things. They even have that abomination over in Israel right now with the people that are over there. Why? Because these people are Romans. They're Gentiles. They've always worshipped these satanic gods and goddesses. They hide them under the shield or the guard or the cloud of religion. Our people were not supposed to have it so. So Solomon went off. The king of Judah went off. And through that, we bear a curse. Read.
Verse 6. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father.
Go on.
Then Solomon built an house for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination.
And for Moloch, the abomination. Moloch is child sacrifice. It's what they practice throughout secret societies, throughout all the secret societies in this earth today. It's the total destruction of innocence. And the highest level of Moloch magic and sacrifice of children is through Planned Parenthood, the abortions. It's a religious action that they're not telling you. It's a destruction of the children of Judah at a time when Judah should be rising. Read on.
Verse 8. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burned incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after their gods. But he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon,
What?
For as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes.
Since you're not keeping the commandments that was given to our forefathers. Read.
Which I have commanded thee. The kingdom, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee.
I will take the kingdom from you. Read.
I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant.
Read.
Verse 12. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's
So he
sake.
says, for a time I will keep your son Judah in the land. I'm going to have this land become desolate eventually. But for David's sake, for his name's sake, I will keep one tribe for your name. Now we know that that one tribe is Judah. But who was under Judah? Benjamin and Levi. We're going to show you. Read.
Verse 14. And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon.
So who did he stir up against Solomon?
Hadad the Edomite.
Hadad the Edomite. So the Most High sent Esau against Judah. Who did it? The Most High did it. And that's for all those who are just trying to focus on what Esau's doing. The Most High sent an adversary against us. See? So be careful. You're going to find yourselves fighting against the God who made you. It's the Most High that sent Hadad against Solomon. And when we do wrong or we're doing evil, it's the Most High that be sending Esau to do things to us. You got it? Okay. Let's go to the scripture where it talks about Judah only real quick. In 2 Kings 17. And 17, showing the fulfillment of that scripture.
Second Kings 17, verse 17.
Yes.
And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire.
Go ahead.
And used divination.
It says it caused their sons and daughters to pass through the fire. Now, brothers and sisters, when it says sons and daughters pass through the fire, this is putting your children inside a metal calf. All metal, and lighting fire under it until the child burns and screams till death. Like what they do at the Bohemian Grove, the reenactment of the child sacrifice at the Bohemian Grove in San Francisco. We began to do this. Now the rituals didn't start there, brothers and sisters. I did the research on this just to see how far our people went off. The rituals didn't start there. The rituals started with what they would call sex magic rituals that they would do in consummation, so that whatever child is born out of that activity is a sacrifice to the demons. So that means they had children with the full intent of sacrificing them at a certain age. Now you see why the Most High went against us. Because this is what the Gentiles do for power with the fallen gods. They require blood child sacrifice. It's systematic today. They set up CPA and social services and all that to separate the children from the parents, so that they make sure there's no one that cares about the children they're doing these things to. But still, it's part of the system. This is what they hide from the populace. Our people began to do this. The kings were doing this. So what happened? Read.
Verse 18. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel.
Go on.
And removed them out of his sight.
And removed Israel out of his sight. So the kingdom was split between Israel and Judah. Israel is predominantly the 10 northern tribes that were taken out and were moved into America. Now we're going to go into that in the 4th week of this particular 12-week installment. But all in all, now the kingdom is split now. The destruction of Israel has begun. The same people that walked through the Red Sea and was saved by the God of Israel, Ahia is his name. The same people that were delivered that went to the land of Canaan, and the Canaanites were delivered into their hands, who inhabited all the great areas of Syria, parts of Egypt, that had parts of Lebanon and parts of what we call Syria or Assyria. We had all that great land. Eventually we would lose it all. The same land that they're fighting over today, why do you think they're able to fight for it? It became desolate. The people of the curse were scattered. Therefore now the Gentiles can fight over the land that our people vacated through curses. Are you following me? If Israel was always there, brothers and sisters, there would be no land to fight for or scatter. Are you following me? What happened to those people who left, who were enslaved, who lost their identity? We're going to show you. Let's go into Judah. Read.
Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel.
So the Most High God, who delivered us out of Egypt, was angry. Read.
And removed them out of his sight.
And removed them out of his sight. He set his sight on his holy land. Read.
There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
So only Judah was left. When it says the tribe of Judah, that's the kingship. But you know what? Benjamin and Levi was under Judah. Let's go there real quick to show you. So eventually, the only people that was left is the southern kingdom, the lower parts of Israel. Read.
2 Chronicles 11 verse 12.
2 Chronicles 11 and 12. Read.
And in every several city he put shields and spears and made them exceeding strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side. Verse 13.
Come on.
And the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel resorted to him out of all their coast. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem.
See that? Read it again.
For the Levites left their suburbs and their possessions and came to Judah and Jerusalem.
See that? So it wasn't just Judah there. Benjamin and Levi was now under Judah. Now you're going to find that Judah is the so-called Negro that was placed under the necks of their enemies in America, the New World, where the so-called Illuminati or the Masons would set up the New Babylon. But they brought Judah for a specific reason. To watch us, but also to help build their new empire. Benjamin, which we're going to go into next week. As a matter of fact, we're going into Benjamin the third week. Levi were the priests, who are the Haitians today. We're going to go into them next week. The kings this week, the priests next week, and the warriors, Benjamin, in the third week. Yes?
Right, so you've just given us the names of the tribes that constitute the southern kingdom. But I thought that Simeon and Levi were close together, so are they not part of the Negro tribes also?
No, because it says, what shall befall thee in the last days.
Right, so that's different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You got it? Read on.
For Jeroboam and his sons had cast him off from executing the priest's office unto the Lord. And he ordained him priest for the high places, and for the devils, and for the calf which he had. And after them, out of all the tribes of Israel, such as set their hearts to seek the Lord God of Israel, came to Jerusalem to sacrifice unto the Lord God of their fathers. So they strengthened the kingdom of Judah, and made Rehoboam the son of Solomon strong 3 years. For 3 years they walked in the way of David and Solomon.
Crystal clear. So now we got Judah, Benjamin, and Levi under that term Judah only, because some people look at that and say, well, Benjamin and Levi weren't there. So you have to go into Chronicles and show who came up under Judah as king during that time period. Are you following me now? Now eventually, the Most High would curse the seed of Judah and take their kingship. Why? Let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 21.
Deuteronomy 32, verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God.
They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. Read.
They have provoked me to anger with their vanities.
With their vanities.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. So we put up a no God for him. So he said, you know what? I'm going to show you how it feels. I'm going to put the Gentiles over you. You put up a no God for me, I'm going to put up a no people for you. And under these people you will have no rest. You'll come screaming back to the Most High. You'll come in total humility for breaking his laws, for going against his covenant that he made with the kings of this earth. Read.
I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
So he put fools over us. Read.
For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. Now, so the Most High,
excuse me. Excuse me. So the Most High, according to prophecy here, according to Scripture, is now angry. He set us up, he gave us everything, and we began to turn to the gods of the other nations, Satan. During this time he was called Baal. So we began to sacrifice. Instead of the Most High holy days, we started to deal with his holy days on Babylonian holy days. So brothers and sisters, Easter started before the pagan Romans brought it forth to us. Let's go there in Jeremiah and see what treacherous Judah was doing in Babylon. Excuse me. Jeremiah, I think we got it in the 44th chapter, right? Yes. So while we were kings in Judah, in Israel, in the southern kingdom, we began to operate using our holy days, but operate bringing in now the pagan sacrifices with it and worshiping the Queen Mother of Heaven, which is Semiramis, Nimrod's mother. Now this is about what? About a half a century before the birth of Christ. Read.
This is Jeremiah 44 and 15.
Read.
Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth.
Go ahead.
To burn incense to the Queen of Heaven.
To do what?
To burn incense to the Queen of Heaven.
To burn incense to the Queen of Heaven.
And to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
See that? So since they did that, the Most High began to take us down. See? Read.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven,
since we began to worship Semiramis, who's the same Queen Mother that's being worshipped as Mary in the churches today,
and to pour out drink offerings unto her,
read,
we have wanted all things.
we have wanted all things. We have lost everything. The Most High is not blessing us no more. Now you see why they push these holy days and the holidays of the pagan world on us. As long as we worship their pagan days, the Most High is at war with us. It's the same thing the Most High fought against us in the past for. So the traditions are a mainstay amongst Judah today. They make it tradition where it's part of being family. You're left out if you don't celebrate Christmas or Easter or any other holy day, satanic days they have for us. That is what separates us from our God. It did in the past. So holy days in this earth are a weapon, a tool against Judah. See? And even Israelites who are doing it under the moon. Holy days under the moon. This is how the Babylonians were doing it back then. See? You're still off and worshiping the Queen Mother of Heaven and dealing with Gentile sacrifice, even as Israelites. Right? Go to Jeremiah 5 and 11.
Jeremiah chapter 5,
read.
Verse 11. For the house of Israel and the house of Judah have dealt treacherously, very treacherously against me, saith the Lord.
So Judah, the kings, and Israel began to deal treacherously against their own God, the God that saved us out of Egypt. Read.
They have belied the Lord and said, it is not he, neither shall evil come upon us, neither shall we see the sword nor famine.
So we tempted the Most High. We say he's not going to do anything to us. Even though the Most High said what he would do, he would make the land desolate. During this time, we didn't believe that the God that loved us would ever allow the Gentiles to harm us. See? We do this today. Ain't nothing going to happen to us. It's just everything going to be normal. It's always been this way. We try to explain things off. They say, no. It ain't going to happen to us. Right? Read.
Neither shall we see sword nor famine.
We're not going to see destruction. No one is going to come and destroy our land. But what happened, we're going to show you. No one is going to destroy us. Read.
Verse 13. And the prophets shall become wind, and the word is not in them.
It says the prophets shall become wind. What they say is just like wind. It doesn't matter to us. The Most High is not going to do nothing to us. Say the word is not in them. Read.
Thus shall it be done unto them.
Thus shall it be unto them. When now in the past, the Most High would send prophecies and prophets to warn the people, and the whole Israel would take heed. When the Most High sent out Samuel, the whole Israel would take heed and follow suit. Now the prophets speak, and it's like wind to the people. It's like, it's going to come and go. They just talking stuff. Destruction is not going to come on Judah. We're going to always be here. We're going to show you what happened to us. Eventually, the Most High had a curse. Let's go there on Judah the king. During the time of Jeconiah.
Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 24. As I live, saith the Lord, through Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet will I pluck thee from thence. And I will give thee into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon.
So he says, I'm going to have Judah fall to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. Are you seeing this? This is our first Babylonian captivity before we lost our land altogether, an eventual loss of our land altogether. Read.
And into the hands of the Chaldeans. And I will cast thee out, and thy mother that bare thee, into another country.
Into where?
Another country.
Judah, you would eventually serve in another country. Read.
Where ye were not born.
Where you were not born.
And there shall ye die.
And there shall you die. A lot of us die never stepping foot on our mother, our homeland Israel. The majority of us. The land that born us. The land that was promised to us. So you think the Bible is just a fairy tale book, huh? You think the Bible is just a book, huh? What people relates to this prophecy right here? All right.
Verse 27.
Let's go.
But to the land whereunto they desire to return, thither they shall not return.
The land in which they would like to return, they will never return. You know why? Because a lot of us don't even know Israel is our land. If Africa was the land, don't you think that would be the land everyone would have desired? Why do you think the Romans, during the quote-unquote World War II, was looking, I'm talking about the Jewish people, was looking to get Israel? They didn't want Africa. They were promised Madagascar in Africa and say, no, we don't want that. Because whoever rule Israel rules the world. It's the promised land. The only people that's not looking for rulership are those who are programmed to believe rulership is not part of their bloodline. Slaves. To be content as a servant or a slave is a curse. Are you following me here?
Verse 28.
Yes.
Is this man Coniah a despised, broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure?
Come on.
Wherefore are they cast out, he and his seed, and are cast into a land which they know not? O earth, 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 hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days. For no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David, ruling any more in Judah.
So here's the Most High setting a decree to cut off the kings from their power, the rulership that he gave Judah. Now, did they have a seed? Did the king have a seed? Yes. But they will no longer sit on the throne. Why? Because it was prophesied that Israel would be desolate. Israel would fall. There's no people. There's no need for a king to rule over them. Are you seeing this? Now, a lot of people look at this and say, well, the scriptures say that no seed would come through him. So how can Christ be the one? We can show you the scriptures that show that he had a son. His son was cursed and couldn't sit on a throne because his son was in captivity. Leading to who? Let's get the report. Before we get the report. Yeah, let's get the report. Isaiah 53.
Isaiah 53, verse 1.
Read.
Who have believed our report?
So Isaiah is asking, who have believed our report? That means some people who read this are going to deny this report from the prophets. What Isaiah is saying is going to be like wind. Okay? They're not going to believe this report. That means the prophets will speak and it will be like wind. They won't regard it. Read.
Who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? That's an extension of the Most High. Read.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of dry ground.
So this king, and I'm going to show you that who it is, will be a root out of a dry ground. So that's why it tells us about the king's seed that's not going to prosper or get cut off. Because Christ, whom this report is speaking of, came out of a kingship that was destroyed or dried up. Read.
He have no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
Come on.
He is despised and rejected of men.
He's despised and rejected of men.
A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him.
And we do hide our face from him. Even today, people deny this report concerning our king, the king of Judah. Read.
And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not.
He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Read on.
Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows.
That means our grief and our sorrows and the things we did against the Most High will be on this one king. Read.
Yet we did esteem him stricken.
Why? Because in the Hebrews law, in our law, the Israelites' law, there was a law of sacrifice, a lamb without blemish. So the Most High would need someone to come into this earth that was prophesied without blemish, without sin, as a sacrifice under our law to redeem us. Speaking of Judah, read.
Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows.
He hath carried our sorrows.
Yet we did esteem him stricken.
But we esteemed him what?
Stricken.
Stricken.
Smitten of God.
Smitten of the Most High.
And afflicted.
Read.
Verse 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions.
But eventually he would get wounded for our transgressions when Christ was whipped and beat, carrying his crucifix, which was prophesied. Read.
He was bruised for our iniquities.
He was what?
He was bruised for our iniquities.
The Romans beat him for our sins, for us, for Judah dealing treacherously. Read.
The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed.
And with his stripes we are healed. Because of Christ, Judah has another opportunity to rise and take their proper place. To take our proper place in this earth. Because of this. And I'm going to tell you, why do you think they looked to sacrifice and kill Christ? They knew that Christ was prophesied to bring us back our kingdom. The Romans weren't having that. The Romans weren't having it. The Romans are Esau, Edom. They weren't having it. They said we must oppress them. We must kill anyone that comes up from their stock claiming to be king. And when they seen his star in the east, they sent men to get Christ so that Herod, another Idumean, a governor over Judea, so that they could kill the boy, the child of prophecy, the king of Judah. They knew that if this man lives and become that sacrifice, Judah receives his promise according to Scripture. Read on.
Verse 6. All we, like sheep, have gone astray.
We done went astray. Read.
We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord have laid on him.
He laid on him
the iniquity of us all.
The sins of us all. It was prophesied. Iniquity is sin. It was prophesied that this man would spring up out of a dry ground, because Israel was done away with, totally destroyed. Kingship had no power. When Christ came, Rome had total rulership and power over us, to the point where we were governed by an Idumean, King Herod. See? So Christ was that root out of a dry ground. So when you look at these scriptures, when it comes to the kings, who it says his seed would be cut off, it wasn't saying that he wouldn't have children. Jeconiah, it tell you right there, they had sons. Matter of fact, read it in Matthew, the 1st chapter.
Yes, sir.
They had sons. So the king's line continued. They just lost that position in sitting on that throne. They could no longer. How can you sit on a throne and you're a slave? Read.
This is St. Matthew 1 and 11.
Yes.
And Josias begot Jeconiah.
Jeconiah.
And his brethren, about the time that they were carried away to Babylon.
Like we just read. Read.
And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begot Salathiel.
See? So they had sons after that, but these sons couldn't sit on the throne based on the curse. But the kingship's bloodline is there nonetheless. The king's bloodline is there all the way to Christ. Keep on going.
And Salathiel begot Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel begot Abiud, and Abiud begot Eliakim, and Eliakim begot Azor, and Azor begot Sadoc, and Sadoc begot Achim, and Achim begot Eliud, and Eliud begot Eleazar, and Eleazar begot Mathon, and Mathon begot Jacob.
All kings through bloodline. That means if that curse wasn't set in place, each of these men would have been sitting on a throne. If that curse weren't in place, each of these men we're reading would have had a throne. Read.
And Jacob begot Joseph.
And that means Jacob would have had it. I'm speaking of the Jacob down the line, Joseph's father. And he begot who?
Joseph.
That means Joseph would have been on a throne. If that wasn't cut off, which is that power to rule Israel. When we went into Babylon, it was prophesied where the kings would stop ruling from the throne. But the bloodline still stands. Read.
The husband of Mary.
The husband of Mary.
Of whom was born Yeshua.
That means Christ would have been on a throne. Read.
Who was called Christ.
Who was called the Anointed. King's blood. Are you seeing this here? But it was cut off due to the sins of Judah. So the Most High had to send a spirit that was created from the beginning to come in the earth. To be that sin, for us. See? Why? Because he needed someone unblemished. In the law, it's what? You must bring forth for an atonement a lamb without blemish. Something that can be accepted to the Most High. There was none of us in the earth that was good enough or righteous. We were all tainted. So he sent a spirit to come in the earth. Mary brought forth that son, and that son became the sacrifice. You see that? Now, Christ prophesied the continuation of this curse, which is Judah would be scattered. Because eventually we fell from the Persian Empire, a Babylonian Assyrian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, then the Roman Empire. By that time, Israel had no strength, had no power, no kingship, no priest. Only the Sanhedrin, which was set up by the Romans to rule over us like politicians. See? Let's go Acts 1 and 6 real quick before we get that. So when Christ came, the disciples came to Christ and asked him, what? Read.
Acts chapter 1 verse 6. When they were therefore come together, they asked of him, saying,
They ask of Christ, saying what?
Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?
Will you at this time restore the kingdom again to Israel? See? Even under the Romans, we were waiting for who? We were waiting for a king to reestablish us. A way back to our glory. Read.
And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power.
Because it wasn't that time yet. Why? Because at this time Christ came to be the sacrifice, the way, the truth, the life, the way back to him. So Christ came as that path that would guide us back to our kingdom. Okay? Christ's words, the understanding in his words, the spirit of morality and how to operate amongst each other. He embodied the original reason for the law. So it was prophesied that he would come to guide us back. Let's go there. Let's go back.
Just real quick.
Yes.
John 18 and 36.
Yes.
Yeshua answered, My kingdom is not of this world.
My kingdom is not of this world.
If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence.
Exactly. At this time, it wasn't time for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
See? They thought that Christ was coming with the full power of what happened with Moses. When Moses was set up, immediately the power of the Most High was evident in the physical and totally destroyed the families of Egypt to deliver God's people. We were waiting for that. That's what the disciples were asking for. Mm-hmm. Are we going to have another intervention here where we're guided back into Israel? But it wasn't time. Why? Because there were other curses. There was other curses concerning us. The scattering of Judah. Us going into captivity. See? So it wasn't time. Based on our treachery and the evil and us sacrificing our children, the Most High said that, you know what? I'm going to scatter Israel. I'm no longer going to save them all as the 12 tribes all together, regardless of what they do, like when they came out of Egypt. Because don't forget, even the disobedient of Israel came out with us. He said, I'm going to scatter them. And through that, a remnant that follow my son will be my people. Just a remnant will gain kingship again. I'm going to show you. What had to happen? Hold that and get Deuteronomy 28. So even though the disciples who had knowledge of their forefathers and of Israel, who were still in the land, the remnant from the southern kingdom was still there. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That's who the disciples were. Even though they had that knowledge. You understand? They were looking to be restored back into Israel. Back then. But there was some key points that they were overlooking. Other prophecies unfulfilled concerning Judah. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and start at 15.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15.
Read.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
If Israel don't listen,
to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day,
read.
that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Captivity. Read.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
So curse shall be a basket in your store. That means you're not going to have no resources. You're not going to be able to save. You're going to be broke. The fruit of your body is your children. When your children are born in the earth, they're cursed. 64.
Verse 64.
Deuteronomy 28 and 64.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
See that? The disciples had to understand this, that Christ showed them. Like, listen, something else have to happen here, and I'm going to go there. My father did tell you that you would have to vacate the land for a time. You will be scattered first. I'm going to show you where Christ told the disciples this. Like, I'm not going to just save you here. The whole land must be desolate and the kings must be scattered. You must go into slavery first, Judah. Christ is going to show them. I'm going to show you that Christ spoke of this, fulfilling what was written in the Old Testament. Read.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Among all people.
From the one end of the earth even unto the other.
From the one end of the earth even unto the other. The 12 tribes will be scattered. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
And there you shall serve other gods. You're going to serve the pagan gods of the Arabs, Ishmael. And you will serve the pagan gods of Edom, the nations who are over you. Read.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
The wood represents predominantly the cross that's being worshipped in the Christian church. And the stone predominantly represents the Kaaba in Mecca. The two main religions that has absorbed Judah. The kings are diluted within both of these religions. See? So when they came to the Americas, I'm going to go there, they aimed these certain religions towards the kings, to divert them from their true purpose according to the Bible, according to the Most High. Read.
65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease.
You shall find no ease amongst these nations. You're going to always be looking for rights. You're going to be marching. You're going to be crying, saying you're being treated like second-class citizens. You're going to be singing, "We shall overcome." You're going to be doing everything you can to get out of this condition, except looking to find the God who said this would happen, who told us that we're under a curse due to our forefathers. Read.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there trembling of heart, or a trembling heart.
That's what I said earlier. How the kings, crouched out down like lions, are fearful now. The curse is that Judah, once king, would have no courage. Read.
The Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Your life shall hang in doubt before thee. A lot of us, when we come outside, in our minds, when we drive our cars, we're mindful that some cop can pull us over and just shoot us and gun us down without any recourse. They don't even have to worry about it. They can kill you dead and not have to worry about serving 1 second in jail. It says our life, Israel's life, would hang in the balance daily. That means no one would have regard for the chosen people of the Most High in this earth. Read.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night.
Thou shalt do what?
Fear day and night.
Fear day and night.
And shall have none assurance of thy life.
And will have no assurance of our life from day to day. And I see everyone talking about this in every movement you can name. How they treating us and what they're doing to us, and how we need to gather together and find out and make a constructive unit so that we can fight against this. It's futile. The only way to come back or to get out of this is to actually acknowledge the God who did this to us due to our disobedience. But instead of doing that, we continue in the vein of our forefathers whom the Most High warred against. And the curse becomes perpetual, generational. The only way to cut the curse is to look at what we've done in the past, our forefathers as the example, and do different. And come back to the example that the Most High showed us. He gave us a living example, his son. Read.
Verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening. And at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
Read the 68th verse.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
Egypt
again.
is bondage. The first time we were in Egypt, because the land is not named Egypt. The original landmass was named Mizraim. Egypt is the house of bondage according to scriptures. So it says the Most High will bring us into the house of bondage a second time. With what?
With ships.
By what?
With ships.
With ships. Cargo slave ships. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
Thou shalt see it no more again. To tell you that these ships would bring us into our last captivity. That was our last captivity the ships brought us up to. And there you shall be what?
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Sold to Mr. Jefferson down in Philadelphia. Sold to Mr. Smith down in North Carolina. Sold to the Watsons down there in Connecticut. On and on and on. Sold to this man or this land. And guess whose finances funded all the plantations? You got it. This was before quote unquote Holocaust. Guess who money financed it? You got it. The Jewish powers under the Roman imperialistic empire. The money changers funded the ships that we were brought over there on. But they'll never say that. They'll never mention that when they talk about a Holocaust. They'll never mention the Holocaust they funded. The plantations they funded. The cotton fields. And all the work that was done that actually established the stock market we see today. It all started with slave labor, with the cotton fields that were owned by all Jewish people. See, you keep them close. Judah shall be in the neck of his enemy. So they kept us close. Are you following me here? Let's go back. There you shall be sold unto your enemies for a bondman and a slave man and a slave woman. Read. And
no man shall buy you.
That's old Quaker English. How can you be sold and not bought? So it's not saying no man shall actually purchase you. It's saying no man shall redeem you. Because the only means of redemption is what? Through the sacrifice or blood of the Most High Son. That means no man would be able to get us out of this condition. We are purchased with the blood of Christ, whom they call Christ, Yeshua. Only he could get us out of this. That's what it's saying. That we would go into slavery, and all of us can relate to slavery, but we can't relate to the fact that the scriptures tells us there's only one form of purchase out of it. You understand? If we don't follow this road or find this path, We stay servants forever. Right? Christ showed the disciples that this had to happen to us, that Israel had to fall altogether. Judah must fall and go into captivity. Let's go there.
St. Luke chapter 21 verse 20.
Luke 21 and 20. Let's go.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Then know that the desolation is near. What desolation? That was that was written in Daniel. The war that make all desolate. That means the Roman Empire would utterly eradicate the land of Israel and destroy our people. Read.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
So what happened? Vespasian and Titus put a trench around all of Israel, a Roman army. And at that time, we didn't realize that it was prophesied that we would get utterly eradicated. The Romans were interacting with us. But Christ says, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, I'm going to show you. Read it.
And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
When you see an inordinate level of military interaction, because the Romans gradually did this to us. They didn't just come and just take us out altogether at once. It was gradual. We got used to seeing military interaction with Romans, having Romans interact with us, which was really inordinate back then. Because you were supposed to police or militarize your own country. There was no reason for Romans to be amongst us when we were policing ourselves. See, so Christ was saying, well, listen, it's about to happen. When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains. And our people fled into the Atlas Mountains and started running in different parts of Africa. After 70 AD. Those that didn't take heed to Christ, even though they were Israelites, those that didn't believe in Christ perished. They died under the hands of the Romans or were thrown into the arenas as gladiators. Okay? Read.
Verse 20 or 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
The days of vengeance. Now it's coming on us. What our forefathers did against our God in the Old Testament. It's coming on us now. The Romans are getting full power under their Lord, under their God, Satan, to totally eradicate Israel and make the land desolate. To make my mother Jerusalem desolate. Go on.
But woe unto them that are with child in those days.
Before you go there, I need you to, where it says scattered, where it tell you, one moment. One moment here. That's it. That's it. Keep on going.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
And it says, woe to them that give suck in that day, because when they destroyed us, when the Romans put a trench around Israel, our people escaped into Masada. It tells us this in the book of the Josephus. Then let no water or food in or out. They knew that they couldn't beat us physically because we had weapons and all that, but we were entrenched in an area that they couldn't fight because we were up high. So they said, you know what? Let's control the rivers and the wells and all the areas in which water goes in and out of Masada. And if they come down, we'll just pick them off as they come down off the mountain. So what happened? They cut off the food and water supply. And we, the young men, began to rule as gangs over the elderly, and we began to destroy each other in Masada. The same thing they're going to do in these cities. To the point where there was no food. Some of the zealots, some of the gangs bust into a sister's house, and they seen that half of the baby she cooked was over the side, and they end up destroying her so they can get her baby to eat. They resorted to cannibalism because there was no food. This would happen in 70 AD. You'll never hear this in Roman history they teach amongst us about the destruction of Masada. That was us. For those who didn't take heed to what Christ told them. Read on.
24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Remember they said no famine or sword shall befall us? They shall fall by the edge of the sword. Read.
And be led away captive into all nations.
And be what?
And be led away captive into all nations.
Christ is speaking here, fulfilling what happened to us and what was prophesied to happen to us according to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. They shall be led away captive into all nations.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
So who's going to be in Israel?
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles.
So the Gentiles will rule our land
until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Until their time is up. See? Their time is up. It's coming close now. That's why they're looking to come against those who can understand or see today and label them terrorists. They know their time is up. We're in the end of the time of the Gentiles. Our land is inhabited by Gentiles. So we went into Africa. We fled into Africa. And we stayed there for a time. Let's go to Revelations 12. Those who understood Christ and followed Christ took heed to the prophecies and fled into the wilderness, running from Roman persecution and slavery. You can slide over just a little bit this way, yes. Wow. Revelations 12.
Revelations chapter 12, verse 1.
Let's start at 12.
Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
So the devil is coming down on our people because he knows his time is short. It won't be long before Christ established rulership in this earth again. So we have no recourse but to battle against the people who brought forth Christ. Read.
13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
He persecuted the woman that brought forth the man-child. Who's the woman that brought forth Christ? Israel. Read. So the Romans began to persecute the people of Christ, the bloodline of Christ. Go on.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle.
And did what?
That she might fly into the wilderness.
So she ran into the wilderness like Christ warned. See? When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains, flee into the wilderness. So the woman did what? Flew into the wilderness. These are they who understood Christ's prophecies. Went into Africa. Read.
That she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nursed for a time and times, and a half of time.
From what?
From the face of the serpent.
So the face of the serpent was looking to kill the people who brought forth Christ. The serpent people are the Romans, and even the Khazarians who converted into Judaism. Their original name were the serpent people. who are the Jewish people today. They destroyed us. We ran into Africa, and the Most High used Africa as a nourishment for us, as a refuge for a time. Read.
Verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood.
But before you go there, it says the serpent, which were the Roman Empire, cast out lies as a flood. So they would use missionaries and all these different, what you would call initiatives that was aimed towards brainwashing us. That's why every place we are, our people, they set up a Roman Catholic Church to bring forth lies as a flood. See? And eventually, through these lies coming from the Romans who destroyed us in 70 AD, whom Christ warned us about, what happens? Another curse comes to the surface. They begin to lie to us, and then what happens? Hold that and get Jeremiah 17, 4 and 5. What happens now? Now another curse begins to happen once the flood from the serpent comes out, which is the Roman empires, their educational systems, their religious systems that's aimed towards us. What happens? Another curse comes to the surface for Judah. Read.
Jeremiah 17, verse 4.
Come on.
And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
So there was a curse that we would eventually discontinue from our heritage, our cultures. Read.
That I gave thee.
That the Most High gave us. And what?
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land that thou knowest not.
Read that. Hold on. Read that first part again, the fourth verse.
Verse 4. Even thou, and thou, even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
So the only way to discontinue from our heritage is to what? Is to forget. See, that's our amnesia. So when the Romans came against us, the first time it was through the sword. Eventually the Most High had us with refuge in Africa for a time, and we began to reprocreate. So they couldn't come against us in Africa immediately with the sword. There was too many. But they came with a flood of lies that would have us forget. See? That would disconnect us from our God. Disconnect us from any information that leads us back to power. It was a catch-22 because they needed us alive to build their empire, but not with understanding. See? So they could use us if they could convince us we were someone else. That's that flood, the lies that came from the Romans. So while we were in Africa, there was a time in which we were able to operate amongst ourselves and build great empires all through Africa. Let's get Babylon and Timbuktu real quick, and let's explain. Matter of fact, let's get the part where it talks about Vespasian and Titus first. Now, Babylon and Timbuktu is a good book and have some good history in it, but I always like to make disclaimers. There are some errors in this particular book. There's one error where they'll say the European powers, or the Europeans are Japheth and all that. They're wrong there. But the history points have references in the book that leads directly to good references. All right? Let's go there.
From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 84.
So this is us in Africa. Read.
In the year 65 BC.
In the year 65 BC.
The Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem.
Come on.
In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state.
Read.
With great slaughter.
So they started slaughtering and destroying our people. Read.
During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people.
Read.
During the period from Pompey to Julius, it is estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa.
That over 1 million Jews fled where?
Into Africa.
Over 1 million of us took heed to Christ's prophecies. When you shall see Judea compassed with armies, flee into the mountains. Over 1 million of us took heed to this. Fled into where?
Fled into Africa.
Those that rule over Rome today know who we are. They knew who fled into Africa, over 1 million of us. The people that bear Christ. The woman that bear the man-child. Israel. They know it. They know we belong to Christ and Christ belongs to us. They know we have the same blood. Read.
During the period from Pompey to Julius, it is estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa.
Fled into Africa.
Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. Read.
The slave market.
The slave markets, when they were actually begin to enslave us,
were full of black Jewish slaves.
Was full of what?
Black Jewish slaves.
Were full of black Jew slaves. Let me get that. Where show me that. Where's that right? Just put it there so y'all can see it. The slave market was full of black Jew slaves. From Babylon to Timbuktu. So, they knew, the Romans knew, who they were destroying, who fled in Africa. While we were in Africa, something happened that would fulfill Deuteronomy 28. Eventually, we would have to fall as a people and be enslaved and taken to other countries to build. Hold that. And let's get the information of what was comprised amongst our people.
And before we go there, do you mind if I...
Yeah, read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just continuing from Babylon to Timbuktu, page 84.
Yes.
This prophecy and all the residue of the prophecies contained in Deuteronomy 28:15 through 68 befell all the black Jews after they disobeyed the laws of God. Many nations transported the Jews into slavery, and the sons of Israel transmigrated into every continent.
Oh, see that? Good, great points. That means every great continent. They took Judah. They took Benjamin. They took Levi. Because why? Only the southern kingdom was left to fall. The northern kingdom were already in the Americas. Read on.
The Jewish philosopher Philo, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, said that 1 million Jews resided in Libya and Egypt from the Decatur Bathmos to the borders of Ethiopia. Professor A.H. Godby said...
Now these are all experts, people that are documented in history, that they'll never teach you or show you in any of your universities in America. Read.
I'm going to jump over to 85. It says, there was a period of over 600 years between Zephaniah and Philo, and considering the new waves of immigrants coming into Africa, they had 600 years to penetrate toward all the borders of Ethiopia. E. Shurer wrote that Hebrewism was detectable by its inscriptions from the Egyptian border westward across North Africa to Mauritania. A.H. Godby says Jerome wrote that the Jews were spread from the western extremity of Mauritania to India. Now, ancient Mauritania included parts of the territory on the Atlantic Ocean, Morocco, and part of modern Algeria. It is certain that the Jews had migrated across all North Africa by the 2nd century. Some scholars fix the date earlier than this.
So they know it was Israelites who fled into Africa. That's the piece of history that those that are just talking about Africa won't receive. Another part they won't receive when you examine Africa in itself. When you really examine it, they won't receive that what they're learning from science is the quote unquote, because they be like, don't do this with the white man, the white man, the white. Well, guess what? It's their science that's keeping you in the dark. They're purposely saying things so that you'll stay there and stuck in Africa. They'll claim they found some old bones in Africa and they found the first man in Africa that's 5 billion years old, some bones. And you will sit there and say, see, we got science that, we got information that predates the Bible that the first black man was found in Africa. Yeah, Africa. Oh, you found Adam? You found Adam's bones? So they'll just show someone a dirty bone that they probably just pulled, probably took an old horse bone or something and put some dirt on it and show some Pan-African. They sit there with some green and red hats looking at the bone saying, yeah, that's it. That's our people. They're giving you the science to stay stuck. They want you to think it's Africa. How do we get there? You know the history. Go into the history on what happened with the Romans in 70 AD destroying Jerusalem. What people you think they were destroying? If the Romans looked like the Israelites, then who would they know to destroy? They would have came in and been running into themselves, right? So what was the distinction between the Romans and the people of Judea? How did they know who to destroy? Because they were us. They were us. That's how we got into Africa. Africa is a wilderness. It's an extension of our homeland. It's an extension. That's why all the tribes, the majority of the tribes there, speak some dialect of Hebrew. You have something else there?
No, this is moving to the next
okay, so what did we have amongst ourselves in Africa? Because they'll make you believe that we were uncivilized, running around with bones in our noses and just a string on for apparel, swinging through trees. Let's read.
So from Babylon to Timbuktu, page 90.
Yes.
By what factors can we explain the emergence of black Hebrew hegemony in leadership over the indigenous tribes? The answer is simple. The Jews came into the western Sudan from northern and eastern Africa as a result of a chain of commercial and persecutory migrations. The Jews had settled among the civilized people throughout the ages. They adopted new methods from other people and left their material, education, and moral imprint among the people with whom they resided. For many centuries, the Hebrews had to employ great physical and psychological initiative. They could not afford to be complacent or apathetic. They were hated, so apathy could mean cultural stagnation or death. The Jews imported into the western part of Africa a superior material, education, and moral culture soon after 300 AD. And this cultural advancement was not duplicated nor exceeded until the ascendancy of the Mohammedan leader Mansa Kakan Musa of Mali in 1312.
So you're talking about around the 4th century. In the 4th century, we were really doing some great things over in Africa. We were now those 1 million Jews have procreated. Now we're setting up moral systems all throughout Africa. Now the Romans the whole time is looking at a way of how to take us down, knowing, okay, we found them there, but they're too many in number at this time. Right? Read.
In the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, the Africans on the West Coast did not possess the cultural superiority of the Africans on the North and East Coast. The black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes.
We had an advantage over those indigenous tribes of Africa who were Hamites. Read.
They carried their culture,
We had our culture,
history,
history,
laws, and written records with them.
our written records and scriptures were with us. That's why when they enslaved us in the New World, they killed the aged men so that they can re-educate the children. Read.
This assured them a constant precedent for the development of higher social organization.
Come on.
Because of the stability of the black Jew culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the
Obnoxious, yeah.
Population.
So we wasn't absorbed by them. Any place we went, the people had to learn and follow us. We would go to a new place and take over. And see, and that's why they have oppressive laws. We're not satisfied with just getting equal rights, brothers and sisters. There's an innate spirit in us to rule. They know it.
That's right.
Because whatever you give us, we're going to say, okay, we got that. We need, that was ours anyway. What else do you have? Because the planet really belongs to us. They know this. So that's why they put in oppressive laws, because they can't give us what's promised. Read.
It goes on to state that this assured them, or better yet, because of this, in fact, I'll start here. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people.
An industrious and skillful people.
In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings.
In Ghana was found kings.
Princes. Governors. Generals. Secretaries. Treasurers. Revenue agents. Judges. Architects. Engineers. Doctors. Historians. Language interpreters.
Many languages.
Mathematicians. Jewelers. Sculptors. Masons. Carpenters. Painters of art.
Keep on.
Goldsmiths.
Keep on.
Leatherworkers.
Keep on.
Potters.
Come on.
Armorers.
Come on.
Saddlers.
Come on.
Blacksmiths.
Yeah.
Agriculturalists.
Don't stop.
Etc.
He had to say etc. This was already in Africa, brothers and sisters. So they'll make you think that they got some people with bones in their noses swinging through trees and civilize them. That's part of their programming. Let me tell you, when they came and got us, they knew exactly what they were getting. The builders of Egypt. The builders of every great empire. With ingenuity, and have the blessings of Abraham with them. And wherever these people go, by default, the land would be blessed. America was nothing until we got there. And I used to wonder, nothing really made sense until I got the truth. I was even in school where they do the Black History Month thing. They told me about this slave that came up with the cotton gin. I'm like, what school did he go to in slavery to learn to make a cotton gin? Right. You understand? The slave master didn't teach him that. I'm like, so he sat there and looked at people picking cotton and said, listen, I'm not dealing with picking these seeds out of this. And came up with a machine that the plantation owner patented and sold to all the other plantations.
And didn't give him nothing.
Didn't give him nothing. But a pat on the back. Thank you. Cotton gin. And it spit all the seeds out and made the cotton, it fluffed the cotton and moved all the seeds. And then I'm reading this story. You know what? They knew that we were dealing with ingenuity, machinery, and all that in Africa. And took all of our inventions and stamped their name on it. They had us believe that Ben Franklin discovered electricity with a kite, a string, and a key. When we were dealing with electricity, the polarizations of the earth, even way back when. Understanding that the earth has its own energy. And they try to get things from Nick Tesla, making him the best inventor ever. Let me tell you, Nikola Tesla was a nothing. Nick Tesla. He was only tapping into what we were doing in Africa already. But you can't tell slaves that, because why? If they know that they have all these things within themselves, well, what do we need you for? If we were doing all this, why do we need you? These were Hebrews who had everything. But they had to take all that ingenuity, right? Because they needed it to build a new world. But they had to make sure Judah would have what? Amnesia. We need your ingenuity. We need your strength, your mental prowess. We need how you think. We need you to even pray to your God to help you, because we can financially benefit from the gifts of your hands. But we can't tell you who you are, because you'll start thinking about using that for yourselves. You'll start coming together. You'll understand the power in you, and you'll realize we've been using you the whole time. We've just been setting up corporations to use you. Oh yeah, I've got a record company. Okay, y'all can sing, dance, do the music, make the beats, do everything. We'll distribute, we'll own all your copyrights, and we'll own all your royalties, we'll own everything. But you're really the company. Yeah, we'll set up a restaurant. We'll let you come in with all your ideas. Well, that's a good idea, Shirley. We're going to implement that. I'll give you 50 cents. 50 cents. Give you 50 cents on top of that. Get 50 cents an hour, Shirley. Thank you. And have us slaving all up in their kitchen. I told you, I went to one restaurant in Philadelphia, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to put a Jim Steak. And I seen nothing but our people running this whole thing. It's lying around a corner where people are just getting this food. And I'm looking through there, and it was just our people running every part, from the kitchen to the register, to people taking stuff out in trash. It was an impeccable system that you wouldn't believe. And it was just us. And but I see one guy every couple of seconds go to the cash register, and you know, he's the only guy. You know what I mean? He just go to the cash register and do what but his system is to go grab the money and go back in the office. He's the plantation owner.
Exactly.
And I'm like, see, being on the outside of it and looking in, I'm like, this is the curse right here. I wish I had been recording this and interviewing it, because not being there in certain elements for a while, it allows you to see things from a different perspective. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you know what? I would probably get fired if I was here. And you ask why? Because I would look at everybody here and say, yo, we got a perfect system. Why don't we do this up the street? You know what I mean? Let's call it somewhere else, because y'all already got the system. And I don't know what you get paid and you get paid and you get paid, but I'm sure we can all come together and get a loan together and build one of these up the street and just have the same system. And you know where he buy the steaks, you know where he buy the buns, you know everyone has a system, right? And I'm just putting it out there. That I'm just showing you that we must be the people of the curse. You understand? Look at all that we had. It's like if you have someone with all the talent, and you just have to have them, you just have to make them realize that whatever they have is really for you to benefit from. By telling them that they'll never get anywhere without you. You understand? It's a perpetual servitude or captivity. Let's go back real quick. But I wanted to go there to show you we had ingenuity, Judah. Now, the same thing. When we went into Africa, Judah was king. Like Ghanaians had tribes of kings. The majority of the priests were who? Levites. The majority of those that we were sending to war or to protect our borders were Benjamin. So we kept the families the same as it was, divided according to Scripture. The same way today, that when these guys are looking for some type of guru or some sorcerer to operate and do sacrifices for them. I just seen the show last night. Who do they go to? They go to Levi to do certain offerings for them and all that. On the left-hand side. I'm going to go into that next week. We were still divided the same way. So we didn't lose our family line. Judah was kings, Levi was still doing the priesthood, but they started going off with it. And Benjamin were over the armies and over the protection of our nation. It never changed. Every place in West Africa was like that. So they knew who to get. So if they say, listen, well, this family, he's kingship, he's deal with this, that, and the other, then they would go purchase that because they needed someone with that type of mindset. Okay, I'm gonna have his children be overseers over certain things because it's in their bloodline to rule. So they'll be the taskmasters. Okay, so when they needed people who do priestly duties and all that, had a certain prowess with that, they would get Levi for that. You understand? So I'm going to go into that with Levi next week and Benjamin the week afterwards. So now we were in Africa. We had everything we needed, right? But the curse wasn't fulfilled. Right? The curse wasn't fulfilled. They had to break us up in Africa. So who did they send? They sent the Arabs. The Romans and the Arabs were working together. Let's get it out of Babylon and Timbuktu. After we taught Muhammad during the 6th century, after our priests, after our teachers began to teach him, Muhammad got upset because we didn't accept Islam as a new religion. And he became enemies of the Jews, the Israelites. Eventually, after Muhammad's death, his family line joined with the Catholic Church to destroy us internally. So before the Europeans took us down, the Arabs were sent first. Against Judah first. Let's get it.
This is from Babylon to Timbuktu, page 49, going into 50. The fanatical stage of most revolutions is bestial, ruthless, bloodly, chaotic affair. The throats of men were cut ear to ear. There is an absence of rationalization and extreme fanaticism sets in. So it was with Muhammad. He had come to a point of no return. He became a religious extremist in order to give his people a better life on a rapid scale. Muhammad came to the conclusion that all means of persuasion had been exhausted. The period of patience was past, and he was now determined to propagate his religion by the sword.
By the sword.
For he said, I, last of the prophets, am sent with a sword. The sword is the key to heaven and hell. All who draw it in the name of faith will be rewarded. Muhammad became a martial prophet, and the pagans and stubborn Jews became his victims.
We became his victims. If we didn't follow suit, there was a choice. Bow to Islam and Muhammad as the prophet and teacher sent by Allah, or I will kill your men, rape your women, and sell your children into captivity. That's the piece of captivity and slavery that's not being taught in the Western world. That they did it to us first. And they were financed by the Romans. They were financed by the Romans. Go ahead, Lawya.
In the year 627, the Battle of Fos occurred.
And in the year what?
627.
In the year 627.
The Battle of the Fos occurred.
Read.
The Jewish tribes were defeated by the armies of Muhammad. 700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace.
When it says Jewish, that's the wrong term, because Jewish is converts. It really should be saying Judah or Israel. Judah. Read.
700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative.
We were offered the alternative. Now, mind you, our history was intact. This is 600 years after Christ. We know Christ. We know the prophets. We know the law. And now this guy is adamantly against us. because we don't accept Islam. After we taught him. Read.
700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative.
Read.
The Quran or the sword.
You choose the Quran or the sword. It was all of our people, brothers and sisters. Read.
But the devout Jews were accustomed to martyrdom. They did not hesitate in their choice. Muhammad carried out his bestial threat, executed the Jews, and the women were sold. There was another city northeast of Medina called Khaybar. This city was the headquarters of Jew powers in Arabia. After a long siege, the city capitulated to Muhammad. Under the rulership of Omar, the Jews of Khaybar were transplanted into Syria. Muhammad attacked tribe after tribe and caravan after caravan that were going to the city of Mecca. These acts enraged the Meccans, and they equipped a large army to destroy Muhammad. In the ensuing battle, Muhammad was almost killed. Finally, the prophet marshaled his forces and entered the city of Mecca. The entire city was abandoned because its inhabitants were afraid of Muhammad. Muhammad decimated the idols in Mecca. However, he did not demolish the temple. When the Meccans saw that Muhammad did not destroy their temple, they returned to the city and joined his religion.
Now let's go directly to where the Moors began. Because later on down the line, well before we were taken into European slavery, the Moors, which were our brethren, Israelites who were converted into Islam, began to now go through Africa and began to convert and to destroy Africa, to change them from Hebrews into what? Muslims. And that's why we have a large black population of Muslims within Africa. And this is how Elijah Muhammad was able to use that fact that there was a high population of Muslims in Africa as a pretext or a springboard to make a claim to black Americans that Islam was really the religion for the black man. Not telling us how our people became Muslims in Africa. Through what? Through tyranny, destruction, and death, and slavery. That's how we became Muslims in Africa. But he left that out. Read.
I'm going to start at page 93 and then jump over.
Come on.
To hit on that point, it says, it is now an established fact that Ghana was a black Hebrew state.
Thank you. Ghana was a black Hebrew state. Read.
And at this juncture, I shall continue writings concerning the Zah dynasty of Ghana. The 15th Zah prince took control of the great city of Gao on the upper Niger, AD 1009. His name was G.O.C.C or Kosoi.
And this is the beginning of the 11th century. Go on.
Up to this time, all the kings of Ghana professed the Hebrew religion. However, in this year, a radical transformation occurred. G.O.C.C accepted Islam.
See that? So now around the beginning of the 11th century, right before the time of the Crusades, they have an aim towards the Hebrews to convert them into an Arabic new religion that was created through Muhammad, which was created with blood, through the sword, the blood of our ancestors. You see that? So it was a gradual destruction. Really, when you look at the 1400s, they came on the tail end of our fall. 1600s, they came on the tail end. But the Arabs were destroying us internally well before the quote-unquote white man came to the shores of Africa. So this was a gradual takedown of a people, actually fulfilling what was written in Deuteronomy 28. A gradual takedown. A conspiracy, really a conspiracy with Esau and Ishmael at the helm. Like it says in Psalms 83, they conspired against the children of Jacob. Read on.
This is from Babylon to Timbuktu, page 103.
Come on.
It says, final chaos came to Sangay when the Moors invaded in 1591. The Moors came to acquire wealth. They paid a dire price for the predatory exploits. Some writers have estimated that 23,000 Moors perished in one way or another in the military campaigns against Sangay. After 2 decades, the Moors withdrew their military force from Sangay. In 1618, Basil
Now, when you hear the word Moors, these are black Jews who were converted into Islam. Moor itself is black. So it means black. So these are actual black people that were converted from Spain into Islam and used for war. Read.
Basil Davidson has this to say about Sangay. But if their invasion cost the Moroccans much more than it was worth, it cost Sangay its place in history. For it demolished the unity and administrative organization of the state.
See that? It demolished the what?
It demolished the unity.
The unity.
And the administrative organization of the state.
It destroyed the organization of the state. What was established. We're speaking of our Ghanaian and our Hebrew culture that was established. So this was a campaign to come in and divide it. But they had to first convert our people into a new ideology to war against their own brothers. Are you following me here? Read.
And while it left Timbuktu and Gayo and the Genie as considerable cities, it robbed this civilization of its vitality. From that moment, says the Chronicle, the Tariq, everything changed.
Everything changed after that. See? Divide and conquer. You come in and teach people an alternative religion, and even though they're the same bloodline, they'll fight and tear each other up inward. And that's why Christ said a nation divided against itself cannot stand. So that divide and conquer didn't just start with the Romans. The Arabs are behind this too. Mainly the Saudi Arabians' families, the Saudi princes of this earth, the children of Ishmael. Now, from that, we know came what? Right after that, led up to what we would call the slavery, predominantly in the late 15 to 1600s, based on these calendars, up into the point where we were totally enslaved in around the 1700s, in what we would call America. I'm speaking of Judah, fulfilling the slave prophecies of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Now we all know the story, so I'm not going to sit here and make a whole dissertation on what happened to us during captivity. You can read that in Deuteronomy 28. But let's bring it up to speed. Let's bring it up till this day. Let's go to Hosea, the 6th chapter. Okay.
Hosea chapter 6, verse 1.
Read.
Come, and let us return unto the Lord.
Come and let us return unto the Most High.
For he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up.
And he will bind us up. Read.
After 2 days will he revive us.
After 2 days he will revive us. Let you know that we're in the second day, or the end of that second day. Read.
If after 2 days he will revive us.
He will revive us.
And the third day will he raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
And that's when Christ returns. So when it talks about that revival, it came to a point where we started to realize something was wrong. We started to look for equal rights. We started to look for a better life than what was given to us. We did everything that was asked of us, and we were still lacking. So during the times of like the late 50s and 60s, we began to rise and start to understand. A revival began. We started to cling to ideologies that would liberate us. We want it better. So that's where I would call the awakening things started happening. You had groups like the Black Panthers. You had groups like the Nation of Islam. You had groups, all these different groups started coming up. And they were great awareness for our people, but they were the wrong direction. And because it wasn't what was prophesied to gather us, all these institutions that were being created became an internal weapon that could divide us and have us go backward. The greatest movement of them all, which I believe hijacked everything, was the movement under Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's initial intentions and how the powers used them were two separate things. But the biggest error, and I'm going to tell you why. I really believe that Martin Luther King had a love for the people. I really believe that at one point that the Most High was working with him to help our people. But some people came in and redirected his passion towards something that could be infiltrated and imploded from the inside. And there's a difference between a movement like that and the understanding and awakening according to scriptures on what we would need to do. The difference is we will never wake up before any of our brothers and sisters and say, I have a dream. You understand? We must continue in the vein of thus saith the Most High. See? He put us in this condition. It says in 2 days he would revive us and we would live in his sight. That's only if we follow the path that was given to Judah. The mistake he had all the gifts that could lead a nation. I'm going to tell you, they had to kill him, because if Martin Luther King would have ran for president, he would have won by a landslide. And they didn't want a president or someone with all that political prowess. And not only that, he had political pull throughout the whole earth that wasn't prepped like our modern day guy is prepped. They didn't know how to use that. He had too much power. So before he could change his stance, and he was ready to, they had to kill him. And it was written in scripture. He came at a key point of awakening, but it wasn't Martin Luther King that was rising people up and riling them up and making them look for higher understanding beyond their captivity. It was the Most High, and this system knew it. It was the Most High waking people up. People can say what they want to say about Malcolm X. Malcolm X had the spirit of the Most High on him. Why? Because he wasn't willing to stand pat when he realized what was wrong. He continued to search till his death. And even if it meant giving up his life for the truth, he was going to find it. They had to kill him because he couldn't be compromised. And the people that were behind his death, they're still living. But what have come of their movement? Nothing. Because the movement of the Most High and the gathering of the people is until Shiloh come. Okay? While I respect and bless and thank Malcolm for his sacrifice, he didn't have the opportunity to tell people who we were on a mass level. He was about to, but he didn't have the chance. Okay? Let me drop this on y'all real quick. There's leaders out there with these movements who have hijacked the spirit that the Most High let loose in the earth to raise Judah, to shape Judah, to have them stand up. And now, like I've mentioned, all of these movements have come to nothing because it wasn't in the spirit of this Bible. It wasn't in the spirit of Christ. And it wasn't in the spirit of raising Judah for what the scripture says Judah must be raised for. Let's go to Deuteronomy 13 real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer
If
of
there
dreams,
arise among you a prophet or dreamer of dreams, I have a dream. Read.
and giveth thee a sign or a wonder,
I've seen the mountaintop. Read.
and the sign or wonder come to pass,
I've seen it where my babies will be using the bathroom with your babies and all people holding hands and there's no restrictions. Did that dream come to pass? Yes. Read.
let us go after other gods.
But they're really saying what?
Let us go after other gods.
He actually integrated into us following other gods. We went further into it. Because what league or what agreement have Baal with the Most High? If you knew the system was wrong and satanic and built wrong from the beginning, why would you want to integrate within it? With people who you know are not for your turn. And I'm speaking of the powers that be. Those that open the floodgates so that he can march all his people in front of the same obelisk that the scriptures talked about children were being sacrificed under during the time of Solomon. You notice all these marches go straight to the obelisk every time, so that they can let you know these people are now being integrated into the satanic system for sacrifice. They were leading their people to a sacrifice. Martin Luther King led our people to a sacrifice. The Million Man March was a sacrifice. They were marching them right into the satanic hub and giving all these people to Satan. And the awakening wasn't for that. Imagine all these people march someplace and with one voice you tell them who they are and what their purpose is according to the Most High and why we're in this condition. Imagine what we're saying right now and bringing forth the history right now of what we're bringing forth. It's being spoken on a mass level. Can you imagine that? It's unimaginable because they would never let it happen. Read.
Let us go after other gods.
That's what they were saying. Let us go after other gods. And you notice you had Martin, Christianity, pagan, with one march. Roman, total Roman doctrine that was meant to destroy us. And then you had Farrakhan with the other. Islam. Being a face for Islam. And he know the history of how Islam was founded with the destruction of our people. The two cursed religions serving wood and stone written of in Deuteronomy 28 being led by our quote-unquote prophets, our leaders. Judah. Read.
Verse 3.
Come on.
Thou shalt not hearken unto the word of that prophet.
We are not to listen to those that say what? I have dreamed. I have dreamed. Read.
Or that dreamer of dreams.
Or that what?
That dreamer of dreams.
There's only one person I know with the title of a dreamer attached to his whole existence within Scripture. Don't tell me the Bible is not true. At a key point of our awakening, they sent a dreamer to redirect us from the fact that the Most High was going to wake us up in a few years with a direction on how to come back and receive our Holy Land and to receive His Son upon His coming. It was a total redirection during a time of awakening. Read.
Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams.
We are not to listen to that prophet or dreamer of dreams. Read.
For the Lord your God proveth you to know whether ye love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul.
Go on.
Ye shall walk after the Lord your power and fear Him.
We should only walk after the God of Israel, Ahia, and fear Him. Read.
And keep His commandments.
And keep His commandments, because that's why we fell. They had a platform to bring forth all the truth. And not one of those leaders said, you know what? You're the children of Israel that went into captivity. You are the kings. You are the lions, the Lion of Judah. You are the leaders according to the Bible. Not one. That you need to come back to the God of Israel, who have allowed the nations to enslave you, Judah. Come back to the commandments, law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That this is not about the white man. This is about you and what's in you. And that if you can overcome that, I will have all your enemies. I will have all of them bow if you come back. See, that's a whole nother understanding. A whole different understanding, brothers and sisters. With that platform, but they redirected. Read it again. I only got a couple more minutes. Read.
Ye shall walk after the Lord your power and fear Him and keep His commandments.
Come on.
And obey His voice, and ye shall serve Him and cleave unto Him.
Read.
And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams.
That prophet or that dreamer of dreams.
Shall be put to death.
Shall be what?
Shall be put to death.
Will die an untimely death. Read.
Because he hath spoken to turn you away from the Lord your power, which hath brought you out of the land of Egypt.
See that?
And redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord thy power commanded thee to walk in.
We were not supposed to be guided back into the ideologies of Babylon when the Most High was looking for us to come back. We weren't supposed to have hope in the land of captivity. Judah. It's time for Judah to rise. Let's go to Zechariah 12:7.
Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7.
Read.
The Lord shall save the tents of Judah first.
The Most High shall save the tents of Judah first. That's why we had to do the lesson on Judah first. The leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel must learn it and get it first. When he says Judah, the tents of Judah is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That's the tents. That's who's under the tents of Judah. They must get it first. Why?
That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah.
Because if Judah, Benjamin, and Levi don't get it first, all the other tribes who are already together in number would overtake Judah, and the work would go backward. So the Most High put a spirit out there to say, rise Judah, so that we can help our family, so that we can raise our family. St. John 14:6, the last scripture.
St. John chapter 14, verse 6.
This is the greatest Judite, our king. Read.
Verse 6. Yeshua saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
That's the path Judah must fall under now. Christ is our king. He sacrificed himself. He will soon return. Read.
No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
We will not get out of captivity without him. Rise, Judah. Yeah. Hebrews 14.
Hebrews 7 and 14.
Our Lord and Savior.
For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah.
Chapter and verse.
Hebrews 7 and 14.
Hebrews 7 and 14, read.
For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah.
Our Lord sprang out of who?
Out of Judah.
Out of Judah. He's the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh to the Father but by him. Rise, Judah. Shalom. Okay. We thank and praise the Most High for the first lesson on Judah. Of course, there's so much information that if we would have went into everything, there would have been we could have been days on this, but we had to move it from the past all the way to where we are now. And I hope that, a lot of you receive some understanding through this. Of course, at the end of the 12-week teaching, we're going to quantify at the very end the gathering of all of Israel. Okay? So, of course, there's a lot of information that we could have went into, but I wanted to quantify it within a 2-hour lesson. We went a little over 2 hours, but it's okay. I've seen a few people have their hands up during the lesson. Anyone? Okay. Okay, what we have here. Ghanaians are Judah. All right, what's that?
Can you please explain how the taking away of the daily sacrifice means the mark of the beast?
That's good. Because the daily sacrifice is food. You understand, under the law, the daily sacrifice is your daily food that you pray up to the Most High. If they institute a mark of the beast in which you cannot buy or sell food, then how can you have a daily sacrifice each day to pray your food up to the Most High? It's an impossibility. The only way you would have a daily sacrifice is if you take the mark of the beast. How else would you get food to pray up to the Most High? So the daily sacrifice taken away is speaking of government control over consumption. See, if you're somewhere else where government don't dictate that, then it's different. But if you're under a government that brings in your food and water and all your resources, if they make a decree or a law not to have trucks go into your neighborhood to bring food and water, then your daily sacrifice is taken away. If they make it where you can only go to one place to get food, and another way we know the daily sacrifice was taken away is that there's nothing new under the sun. But when they destroyed us in 70 AD, they took away what? The resources to be able to eat and drink. You understand? The daily sacrifice is what you eat daily when you pray your food up to the Most High. That's your daily sacrifice. So if there's a system that cuts that off, then they can only do that with a system in which you won't have access to food. In 70 AD it was physical, but now it's a more sophisticated system electronically. But it's still the same nonetheless. Alright, what's next?
Next one is a Hebrew question. Someone says, thank you for the lesson. Which is the proper way to say thank you in Hebrew? Hayan Dabar or Alad Dabar?
Yeah, right.
So the correct way to say thank you is the water in Hebrew. And the correct way to say you're welcome, we went into this a few academies ago, making the correction on you're welcome, which is Allah Adabar or Allah Adabar.
Allah Adabar.
Which is the correct way to say you're welcome. Thank you is the water, you're welcome, Allah Adabar. That's it.
Okay, good. What's the next one?
Thank you for the lesson. My question is 2nd Ezra 15 and 10, referring to the spiritual Egypt, America, or the literal Egypt.
Go to 2nd Ezra 15 and 10. Someone asked, are we obligated to go to church every Sabbath, or can we take Sabbaths off and just rest at home? Well, the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. You understand? But the Sabbath, the Bible tells us about forsaking the assembling of the brethren. You got 6 days to do what you would like to do. Okay? Of course, there's some exceptions when things happen where you must rest. And I would say, of course, you have a choice to take some time off if you would like. But you can't make that habitual where that becomes a regular program within yourself. You understand? You must always desire to come together with the unit. The Bible tells us about forsaking the assembling. And if you put things out there the wrong way, then people who would normally sacrifice time and work to get there would begin to lax off. And next thing you know, people are straggling and we're not receiving the spiritual understanding we're supposed to. So of course, if someone's tired, they work all week and ever so often wanted to have a day of rest, of course, we need that.
So one more gathered, Christ is in the midst.
Exactly.
So this is 2nd Ezra 15 and 10.
Yes.
Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before.
Yeah, of course that's talking about a future Egypt, because that happened in the past. That's speaking of America. All right, what's next?
First Maccabees 1:29 through 37. This is
no, right here. Are we okay? Right here.
Next one. Are we obligated, or Salakia, was some of Judah taken to Jamaica, and where can I study at that Mount Hermon is the real Mount Zion, so that I can gain that understanding?
Okay, we'll go into the Mount Hermon at another time. That's an entirely different lesson that's moving us someplace else. But was some of Judah taken to Jamaica? When you look at the areas, predominantly the West Indian tribes, predominantly are Benjamin. So I can't say that some Judah wasn't in between all that. We're speaking in large number now. You understand? So yes, there's a possibility that some of Judah could have went where Benjamin was predominantly, but the majority of people that went into the West Indians were Benjamin. Yes?
Nigeria, what tribe would you say they are?
Well, in Nigeria, you understand, and I'm going to go into that next week in From Babylon and Timbuktu, because with each area, you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi there as families. So it depends on what family. Like they have some kings' families who are over tribes who would never be priests. Some priest families. So it was separated not more so in landmass, but through families who dealt with certain functions through each area.
So it's divided by
exactly.
specialization and tribe rather than
exactly. Exactly. The same way you had Levites spread amongst the suburbs. If you needed priests, you would have priest families come where you were. You understand? They weren't the same family as the kings over Nigeria. They were just a priest, but that would make them Levi as the priest in that area. So certain families had functions, and they didn't intermingle like that. You dealt with your priest family, the royalty kept their family together, on and on and on.
What about Zimbabwe?
Same thing. Same thing. Now, there's a little difference when it comes to Liberia.
Oh, okay.
because Liberia was actually a land that was actually brought back from the slaves who no longer wanted to be in America. So they had an entry back into Liberia that was made from slaves who went back into Liberia. So we would know that Liberia was predominantly Judah, because these were the Judites that were taken slavery and brought back into Liberia.
And is it correct that Liberia means or is related to the word liberation or freedom?
Yeah. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, I'm going to answer a few more.
In 1 Maccabees 1:29-27, this is the third beast, which is Edom, and the first time Edomites took our land and started Judaism. Can I get the page number in Josephus when the Romans came against us in 70 AD?
Okay, you have to go into the War of the Jews. You have to go into the War of the Jews, okay?
Right. Someone asked, 1750 to 2000 is 250 years after the consummation. Do we have 250 years for Christ to return?
No.
Oh gosh, it's not.
No. And see, I was afraid people would try to resolve the disparity with what the time period they're giving us. We're not in the year we're not in the year 2000 according to proper Jubilee time. They added time during the Dark Ages. So when it says in 2 days he will revive us, you have to realize the second day started 1 second after the first millennium was up. So we're in the second day being revived. So it's not saying that we will have a complete 2,000 years and then the third day will come. It's not saying that, because Christ says he's going to cut their time short anyway. So when Christ comes, that begins the third day. All right? What's next?
Shalom, elders. Is there any Bible trances? Is there anything in the Bible about trances, sleep paralysis? Really need help on this matter. Been going through this for the past 18 years. What's
that? It says trances and sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis. I think it's a situation in which people, they're awake, but it's like they're in the midst of sleep, but they're awake and they can't get up. It's like something is holding them down from getting them. You may hear people describe it as I'm sleeping or I'm awake, but something's holding me down.
When people talk about, I think down south they talk about a ghost is on their back or something like that.
Exactly.
All right. So the only thing that can happen through that is go to the elder for prayer. If you're having some type of spiritual attacks, then you must go for prayer for that. What's next?
Someone asked, what do you think about Ralph Massier?
I don't know Ralph Massier. Who's he? I'll probably look him up. I never heard of Ralph Massier, but I'll look him up. What's next?
Next thing, someone says, someone says, I realized that they hide a lot of our history in Dragon Ball Z. Goku was representation of Yeshaya, and the Saiyans were us. Who were the Most High's powerful beings in the universe, but were destroyed by alien races? The creator of the show was an Israelite.
Okay. Hey. I can't relate to that one. I'm just dealing with the Bible, but I'm sure that they hide a lot of their information in different things. So, okay. What's the next one here?
Someone says, can you explain how the Italians were related to Judah, or are related to Judah?
Well, we were scattered in different parts of Rome. All right? So there are Sicilians in certain parts in which when Hannibal came and conquered certain parts, he had, the Africans, Hannibal's line had family within Italy. Those of his armies that actually were procreated in Italy, we had families there. So But that wouldn't be all Italians. Okay, but there are a number of Judah within Italy. All right, what's next?
Someone says, I tried to deposit in person for the academy and the information was not found or correct. Can you please contact me by email?
Okay, I'm going to make a copy of that for the academy. I apologize if something went wrong, but we'll try to straighten it out for you. One moment. Okay, we have your email, Yidi Mercy. I have that. You'll probably want to erase that because you don't want somebody just. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take it off strictly for your protection. Probably want to send stuff like that through a private message going forward. But yes, I got it for you. We're gonna send it. We're gonna make sure you're in for tomorrow. So just look for a response. I have your email, the YD Mercy 4L. Okay. I can answer one more question, and then we have to wish you all Godspeed.
Someone says, let's see, can you explain Matthew 1:16? I was told there was 2 Josephs. The first Joseph died before Mary was born. I need more understanding. Did Joseph have more than one wife? This is a little confusing to me. Please help clarify this.
Okay. The only thing I can go by and I can help you with, I'm going to say that you probably need to calm down with who you're following outside of what we're teaching. That's number one. Number two, this is what's going to help you. You never believe anything you don't see with your own eyes in Scripture. Again, there's nowhere in Scripture that says that Joseph had more than one wife. You can't read it anywhere. Okay? Second thing, was there 2 Josephs? Well, you have to realize through Scriptures there's many people with the same name. Mm-hmm. The same way there's many people with the same name in the earth today. But if it's in the Bible, doesn't mean they're the same people with the same name. Like there's a Joseph, Christ's father, and there's a Joseph, which is one of the brothers of the 12 tribes of Israel in the Old Testament. You're not going to look at the Old Testament Joseph and get him mixed with Christ's father Joseph. Okay, so the tip that I can give to you is don't believe anything you cannot read with your own eyes. The Bible won't confuse you. The people you go to who are confused will confuse you. Last scripture, then we pray. Can we explain Numbers 21, 6 through 9? Yes. All right, let's see.
Numbers 21, 6 through 9.
Well, let me get it here.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died.
Okay, just in a nutshell, it's speaking of poisonous or venomous snakes. The same way if a snake bites you with poison or venom, you'll feel a burn sensation, and then it'll cause the poison to spread right after the sensation. Okay, so what happened was the Most High said, I'll tell you what, Moses, he allowed Satan to let these loose amongst our people because they began to fraction off and not follow and to question who the Most High set up to do what he was doing, which was Moses leading. So he said, I'll tell you what you do. I need you to wrap a snake around a stick, and those that believe that you are really the one that's sent will look upon the stick, and no serpent, no poison will harm them. And that's where they get in medicine today, the phylactery, the thing you see, or snake wrapped around it. So that's all that was, okay? Those that didn't believe that Moses was sent to deliver the people died from the serpent's venom. All right? With that, I'm going to say shalom. Wish you all Godspeed. And after the academy tomorrow, I'll be meeting with the people in Atlanta. All right? Right after the academy, I'm going to be meeting with the area of Atlanta so that we can get that all in uniformity and getting things together so that that church can run righteously. Okay, to continue to grow. All right. Also, I'll be in my class. I'll have my class this Tuesday for the California class. There's some things I wanted to mention for the California unit, which we're going to start gathering together and getting them more close in that particular area. And any other announcement you got?
So I can think of now.
Okay. And still, if you would like to participate within the academy, you can send an email to gatheringas1 at AOL.com. Okay. And for the person that put out there about the email, resend your email to gatheringas1 at AOL.com, because everything will be processed between today and our lesson anyway tomorrow. So if something happened where we didn't get it or whatever the case is, you resend that and you will have a response before our class tomorrow, okay? And make sure you support the church, gatheringofchrist.org. And I want to thank the brothers and sisters while we were there in the States who gave myself and Lawya these particular garments. I want to show this so that we can put everything to rest here. Those are fringes. Okay, and we have blue too. So, all right. So we just have to work on the beard thing. That, you know, we're going to talk about that. But all in all, we're doing it. So the stumbling block for the brothers who were Israelites who didn't see fringes, now you can come in, Jude, and work with us, right? So the issue have been solved. All right. With that, I'm going to say shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah, rise Israel, and bless you brothers and sisters worldwide. Let me see. I'm okay. All right, shalom.